My scars tell a story. October 29th, 2008, 7 years ago to the day, my life changed forever. I was in a car accident where I ended up breaking essentially every bone from my waist down and a few random others. I was airlifted to University Hospital where I was rushed into surgery. Several surgeries later, I finally got to see my mom and dad. The doctor walks in with the most somber face and he looks at me and he says, "Stephanie, we've got some bad news." I looked back up at him and said, "All I need to know is, will I ever walk again?" He looks at his partner and looks back at me and says, "We don't see a major spinal cord injury, but we don't think so." I looked up at him and smiled and said, "Watch me." So now I'm 7 years down the road. I've been through multiple surgeries along the way trying to save my foot. This past summer, I decided that I was going to amputate it. I'd had enough. People thought I was crazy. They might have a valid point, but so in January of this past year, I did it. I went in for surgery on the 7th and I amputated. I'm not going to stand here today and tell you that it's really easy. It's not. But I will tell you that I don't regret it for 1 second, because my scars tell a story. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Stephanie Magruder, and I'm your instructor for today. I'm a right below the knee amputee. I test prosthetics for Mid-Missouri Orthotics and Prosthetics, and I'm also an amputee advocate. All of you have been referred to me through Dr. Chris from University Hospital or Tracy from Mid-Mo O&P. By the way, they're amazing, they're mine too. I sent out a survey to get a feel for each of you and your major questions. And I made a few modifications to my PowerPoint presentation to ensure that I cover everything that you guys had a major question about. So all of your kiddos are about to face a leg amputation, which is why you're here with me today. You may have asked yourself what the benefit of coming to this class was. Well, Kit, what's the benefit of coming to this class today?
Well, we get the benefit of all of your experience that we don't have that we're about to face.
Right. Adam, can you think of another benefit?
To help our child, to assist them in putting on their prosthetic leg.
Right. And another one is that it's not costing you anything but a little bit of time. You don't get that very often anymore. Sorry. So our objective for today is that by the end of this session, you will be able to successfully assist your family member in using their prosthetic and putting on their prosthetic leg. Do we have any questions about that before I get started? So our agenda for today, we're going to cover the parts and pieces and the process in which you put it on. Also the cost associated with it. There's lots of questions about the cost and shoes, which are very valid questions, and we will get to it. So when you have questions throughout my PowerPoint, please feel free to shout them out. The odds are that I probably do know the answer, no matter how trivial you think the question is. It's a valid question. So this is a picture that I posted on Facebook and Instagram the night before my surgery that my piggies were off to the market. All right, so when you are getting your kiddos ready in the morning, what's the first thing you have them do? Kate, what do you make your kids do in the morning or at night before they go to bed?
Probably wash their face.
Right, you have them get clean, take a shower, you stink, go. So I came up with an acronym just to help me, and it's been pretty helpful in helping others as well, and it's WILD. So the first step, Jennifer, will you read the first bullet point for me, please?
It's to wash.
Wash, which is necessary for obvious reasons. And then we're going to inspect. Kathleen, what do you think we're going to inspect for?
Any cuts or markings on the leg?
Right. You're going to make sure that the skin looks normal and has the normal pink color to it, that there's no bright red spots or anything of that nature. And then we're going to lotion it. Lotioning is very, very important. When your skin gets dry, it cracks. And when it cracks, bacteria is able to get in, which is very dangerous for somebody that's amputated. This infection can end up causing a further amputation and time where you have to leave your limb off. And then you got to make sure that it's dry. Jennifer, why do you think it's important that your leg would be dry?
Because putting on that prosthetic moisture can cause bacteria,
Right.
infection.
Exactly. And it doesn't stay on very well. It'd be really awkward if you're walking and your leg's still wet and it just flops off. Okay, so it's not a simple process. There's a whole bunch of pieces to it. Are we ready to get started?
Yes.
Okay, so in front of you, I have socks. The first one that you're going to find is a silver liner. And this one literally has silver threads through it. It's not worth anything, so don't try and steal it, go pawn it off. But there are silver threads through it. They help with bacteria. Something about how they repel the bacteria. The silver helps with circulation and blood flow. So it helps, if you kind of slack off a little bit on your wild, it's gonna help a little to, get you through that. I know teenage boys, the whole being cleanly thing is kind of few and far between. So you have a little bit of a backup there. Then you have a gel liner. And I do have a couple of those up here. If you want to pass them around. They are made of different materials. This one is more of just a really sticky gel, and that one's more of a silicone. What kind of questions do you have about the gel liner? Yes, Jennifer.
It feels cool. Is this going to help keep the leg cool?
It's really cold in the morning, especially when you leave it by your air conditioner vent. But throughout the day, it just continues to get warmer. It feeds off your body heat. And it has no way for that air to escape, so it just stays hot in there.
Which type do you like better?
I prefer the silicone myself. I feel that it protects a little bit better. Socks. There are 3 socks in front of you labeled 1, 3, and 5. Kent, what do you think these socks are for?
Are these what cover after you put on the gel liner?
Yes.
Okay. What do the numbers mean?
The numbers are the different plies of socks, so they're different thicknesses. So, in theory, it takes 3 of your 1 plies to make a 3 ply. So as your kiddo's leg changes, which it will, we'll talk about that in just a second, but as it changes, you have to add more socks to help to keep the fit right. In this picture that I have up here, I have 35 ply worth of socks on. So you can imagine how long it took me to get this ready in the morning. Yes.
When you say 35, do you just mean a 3 and 5?
No, I
So
mean
35.
7 of the 5 ply socks.
Okay.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
So Tracy will talk to you guys about half socks, which are important because the bottom part will change faster than the top part. And so sometimes you end up having to cut a sock in half to help fill the bottom part, but you may not need it on the top. Then we have, oh, yes, Alan.
You talk about it changes. Will it stabilize and like with the size of the leg?
Yes.
So that
Generally within your kiddo's first year or so, it should stabilize. But that being said, you guys have kids, so they're going to continue to grow. Their limbs are going to continue to lengthen. Probably not at the same speed as a kid that's not amputated, but the bones will change a little bit. So as that happens, they will need to get new sockets, probably about yearly, which is pretty normal. But they should eventually stabilize, and I would venture to guess that eventually it's going to stop growing, probably, you know, in a year or two, once the brain really realizes, hey, there's no point in growing that bone. Okay, so then we have the foam liner, which is this not very pretty thing anymore. This is just an example of how much your leg will change. All these pads are what we added as my leg changed. So I had all these pads and my 35 ply worth of socks. So, and it's really light, and it's literally just a piece of foam. And what it does is it helps to keep the bones from hitting the inside of the socket. It's just a little bit more padding to help with that. And it's very helpful in the beginning stages of being an amputee, because you can make so many changes to it. So you are able to prolong the life of that socket. Yes, Jennifer?
So these added pads, is that like where things were not fitting right or rubbing weird or something?
Okay, so after you're amputated, your kiddo's amputated, their leg's going to be pretty round. They need it to be more of a triangle. And the reason for that is that so that in the socket, the leg does not spin, so that it stays where it needs to, and that way that they can keep the pressure off that bone in the front. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Then we have sockets. As you can see, I have 3 different sockets with me today. One I'm wearing. And they're all completely different in sizes. So this was my first one I got in, April or so. And I got this one in August. So they're about half the size. They are made of fiberglass. And they're customizable, and we're going to get to that in just a second. So as you can see, that one is a lot more round, where this one is a lot more of a triangle. Do you see that? And there is pads in this one too. But this one's my shower leg, so I didn't really care that it wasn't pretty, because it literally just stays in the bathroom when I take a shower with it. Any questions about the socket?
You said you have 3 examples here. You said that's your shower one. So is that pretty much it, or are there different kinds other than that?
No, there's not. So there are legs for skiing and hiking and biking, and there's legs that you can wear heels with. Like if Jennifer's daughter wanted to wear stilettos to the prom, she could wear stilettos to the prom. We've got a leg for that. Does that answer that question? Yes, Jennifer.
This might be a dumb question, but you said that's your shower leg. Do you have to get all socked up and stuff to get in that too?
Yes, which is why it's so important to do wild before you put your leg on, because in the shower, you don't get a chance to do that. You have it in the socket.
Okay. And is that like water resistant, or does water get in there?
Well, you have the gel liner on, so it clings to your skin and it doesn't allow water in.
Okay.
And then there's the suspension sleeve, which I don't have one of those with me, and my dog seriously ate it. I'm not being, the typical teenager. My dog ate my homework. She really did. So it is essentially just a giant gel sleeve, and it attaches, about right here, and you pull it up with your leg inside of it, and you just pull it up, and it clings to your skin. So it's called a suspension sleeve because it literally suspends your leg by hanging onto your skin. Whoops. It's okay.
I have a question on that.
Yes.
Do you need to shave your leg where the gel liner is?
It is not recommended that you shave your leg. I do above the knee, but I don't have to below the knee because your leg in the gel liner and with the prosthetic, it literally keeps the hair from growing. So you can above the knee, but it's not recommended for a below the knee or wherever your prosthetic is at because of those things that we do mild for. Okay, so now our kiddo's legs on and they're ready to go. So, costs prior to insurance. Sockets are really expensive. The feet, this foot that I have on today was $5,400. It has some movement in the ankle. Those liners that we passed around, they're about $1,000 each. Those socks in front of you, they're about $30 each as well. So luckily they're cheap, so that whenever your kids are going through them and tearing them up, they're not very expensive to replace. And don't,
Yeah, I was gonna say, how long does all this take?
to put them
Put
on.
everything on, is it a 10-minute process? Or do you
In the
plan for
beginning, it's
30 or-
probably closer to a 10-15 minute process, but
Okay.
it's a learning curve.
Yes.
There's a 2-year-old at O&P, and he literally had his entire leg on and running down the hall before I got my shoe on my foot. So there's a learning curve to it. And you can make your prosthetics cool. Like my puzzle pieces, for example, I went into Hobby Lobby, looked through the fabric, and I'm like, that one. I want that one. And you just take it in there, 1 yard if you're below the knee, 2 yards of fabric if you're above the knee. And then they just basically shellac it and decoupage it in there. I don't know. It's hard. It doesn't scratch. My shower leg, I had to paint it with car paint. It scratches. Any questions about that? Okay, so prosthetics and shoe shopping. Jenny, what kind of shoes does your daughter like to wear?
She really likes to wear boots.
She likes to wear boots. Adam, do you think she'll still be able to wear boots?
Oh, I don't know. I hope so, but I wouldn't think so. It's kind of heavy, wouldn't it be?
It's really not the heaviness that makes a difference. It's the heel height. Until you get those fancy heel feet, you have to stay within between a flat and a 1-inch heel, which is why I wear a lot of flats. They're very easy to go, just throw them on. I do have 4 pairs of boots in my closet though, much to my husband's dismay. He gets tired of me for buying shoes. They also need to be pretty flexible because it's kind of hard to pull it onto a plastic foot, if you can imagine that. And a minimal arch. Kathleen, do you have any idea why a minimal arch would be important?
What about the way you're bending your foot?
Well, when you have a high arch support on a foot that's flat on the bottom, it makes you roll on the outside.
Oh, okay.
So you don't walk like flat.
Okay.
Your leg will bow out as you walk.
Okay.
So that's why that's so important. Which your kids will notice that whenever they try and get the cool shoes that have that. So, you gotta wear cool shoes. Converses are awesome for prosthetics, and they come in all kinds of fun, cool, crazy. There's sparkly ones, there's camel ones, there's chevron ones. Those are my favorite. So here I got a pedicure. So for those of you with daughters, do not forget that they are half price. So you can get them twice as often, and it's not going to cost you any more money.
I like that.
So what questions do you have for me before we wrap up here? Yes, Adam.
And talking about the socks and liners, the silver liner, can that go in the washing machine as well?
Yes, I throw it all in the washer. You got to make sure when you put your gel liners in the dryer, though, you only do it for like 5-10 minutes because they will melt and stick together. It's funny, but it's bad. Yes, Kate.
I assume that the leg is adjustable as the child grows, like coming from
Like
the
height?
foot. Yes.
Yes, it is adjustable. I'll
So
use this one.
if, for example, if it doesn't get adjusted correctly as they're growing, can their bones grow incorrectly and then they have one leg that's longer than the other leg?
Well, they do a really good job of making sure. They take x-rays at O&P once they've had their leg on to make sure that their hips are flat. All right. So we covered a lot of information today. The parts and pieces, the order to put it on, the cost, and how to shoe shop. We covered our objective of how to assist our loved ones with putting their prosthetic on and using it. Does everyone feel that they'll be able to assist their kiddo now?
Yes.
All right. I'm glad you don't feel like this was a waste of time for you. So what final questions do you have for me? Okay. Now go to O&P, go to Hobby Lobby, pick out your fabric, make it cool, Toy Story, Darth Vader, My Little Pony, you know, whatever it may be, Dora. So go do that and go get your leg, go get your kiddo's leg and go get them out there. Teach them that, yes, you may only have one foot, but you can go, you can do whatever you want. So, as I close, I want to leave you with a quote that definitely already relates to my life and will relate to your kiddos as well. And that is, my scars tell a story. They are reminders of times when life tried to break me but failed. They are markings of where the structure of my character was welded. Thanks for coming out, guys.